Let's talk about the skill floor of Bioshock 1. So, the skill floor of a game is generally the minimum amount of skill required to complete a game or to progress in a game. So, let's say you start a game with skill 0, right? Like you're completely new to it, maybe you've never even played a shooter before. So, in the case of Bioshock 1, it's kind of assumed you've played shooters or you could at least learn how to play a shooter to some degree. So the skill floor isn't extremely high, and also it depends on the difficulty you select. So if you go on easy mode, you don't need to land as many shots, you don't need to be as consistent, enemies don't deal as much damage. So the skill floor heavily depends on the difficulty you choose, which is going to be true for all of the games I'm going to be reviewing. So depending on which difficulty you choose will greatly change what is required of you in order to be minimally efficient to progress into the game. So you can start out a game out with essentially no skill in that game, and as you play the game, you'll learn more about it and improve. So even if you need, let's say, like skill like 8 or 10, like these are just like theoretical values for like how good you get as you play the game. Starting out at skill 0 is fine because as you go on, you'll progress. In the case of Bioshock 1, the minimum skill ceiling, the minimum required of you is to be able to aim at things, to kind of position yourself to dodge enemies to some degree. If you're playing on the lower difficulties, you don't really need to do this. You have to try to go for headshots. If you're on the lower difficulties, just like with a lot of these requirements, you can just go for body shots. You have to kind of conserve resources. You have to kind of conserve money. The game generally wants you to explore and to find items, to loot bodies. So it's a very simple system where you kill enemies, you loot them, you explore, you get items, you equip tonics, you find plasmids, you equip the plasmids, and then eventually, once you feel like you're ready for it, you take on big daddies using a variety of like weapon types, plasmids, and so on. So overall, I would say this game has not like a steep learning curve. I would say it's like quite low because it kind of like teaches you how to play it. Like it teaches you that shocking a big daddy will prevent them from doing things. So like for your first big daddy fight, you should have some items. Obviously right now this is a new Game Plus account, so I have quite a bit. But in the case of a big daddy fight, you generally are given like tools. You can hack things. So that's another part of the skill floor, is being able to hack things. Hacking is difficulty independent, I'm fairly certain, so the later like end game hacks are quite difficult and sometimes even impossible. So that's also part of the skill floor, so hacking definitely factors in there. But aside from just like basic things like aiming, using abilities, acquiring resources, managing resources, there isn't like too much. Like you can see here, like for the SMG, you just kind of shoot the body and it kills enemies. It's like fairly simple. So it's a pretty simple, straightforward game. It doesn't have too much of a demand on the player, even in the end game. I would say the highest it gets is like getting headshots consistently, but I'll cover that in the skill ceiling video. So this is my introductory video for the game design of Bioshock 1. I'm starting with Bioshock 1 because I actually do really like this game. But yeah, that's the skill floor of Bioshock 1. Thanks for checking this out. If you'd like this type of content, I'm going to be making more of it. Definitely like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Bioshock game design overview.